Almost everybody in the industrialized world now has Wi-Fi as part of their home, their office, what have you. The combination of radio technology and cybersecurity and AI all come together to create something that we never thought we would be able to do. This is the same thing, sending out the Wi-Fi signal and then getting the signal and having enough intelligence built into your system to be able to determine what is going on in that room.
Hey everyone, Yaniv Hoffman back with another video and back with the one and only Master Hacker OccupyTheWeb. Welcome.
Thanks, Yaniv. It's good to be back. Thank you for the honor of hosting me again. I really appreciate that.
Yes, already got complaints and questions. Where is OTW? So happy you are with me. And today we have a cool, I believe, a very cool subject. And what if I told you that your Wi-Fi can see you even through walls? So a new technique lets attackers track your every move inside your home without ever stepping inside. And to break it down, I'm turning it to OTW, who is going to show you exactly how this works.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to show them exactly, but I will describe exactly how it works, right? So there's almost everybody in the industrialized world now has Wi-Fi as part of their home, their office, what have you. And we've just kind of taken that for granted. We've now entered the radio signals intelligence era. We are entering the signals intelligence era of cybersecurity. And this new technology is an indication, it's a manifestation, it's of the combination of radio technology and cybersecurity and AI all come together to create something that we never thought we would be able to do. And what it is it's the ability to send a Wi-Fi signal. Now, Wi-Fi is simply a radio signal. That's all it is. You know, like so many things around us, whether it be your cell phone or your microwave oven or even the light that's around you. These are all electromagnetic waves. Wi-Fi is no different. It just is a way of using radio signals to transfer digital information. Okay, that's all it really is. Now, we know that when there are radio signals, or for that matter, sound or light, when it hits something, right, the electromagnetic wave is scattered or refracted or absorbed. Those are the three things that can happen. Well, if it's absorbed, then we don't really know what happened to it. But if it's refracted or reflected, it comes back to us. All right. It's like eyesight. Eyesight is simply the light going from it's reflecting off a surface and coming back to your eye. This is the same thing, sending out the Wi-Fi signal and then getting the signal and having enough intelligence built into your system to be able to determine what is going on in that room. All right. You can, by simply seeing the refraction and the bouncing of the radio waves. Now, it's been something that's been around. The idea has been around for at least 10 years, maybe longer, right? But right now, with the advent of AI in cybersecurity and the advent of AI in what I call signals intelligence, right? We can now build one of these devices that can see through walls, right? For relatively small amount. We're not talking about military budgets. We're talking about a home hobbyist budget. The biggest expense in doing this is you have to have NVIDIA card. You have to have an NVIDIA card, right? The software is to run on CUDA. So here's the system. Right? The system simply is reading the bouncing and refracting radio waves and then with that information, is able to determine what is, okay, and what is a wall, what's a piece of furniture, what's animate, what's not animate. And then with that information can actually display the outlines of the body as it's moving in real time. The scientists who developed this, the researchers who developed it, tried to pass it off as a privacy as a privacy issue. It's like, no, this is an anti-privacy issue. It's a spy device, right? That's what it is. It's not a privacy thing. It's a spy device. It's anti-privacy. And so the important point here is that it will be used by law enforcement. It will be used by military intelligence. It will be used by bad guys. Right? That's the truth, no matter what technology you're talking about. And so it's important, I think, to want to understand what's going on here, right? What is actually happening? What's possible, right? And possibly how you can protect yourself from this type of spy. Right. And so at Hackers Rise, we're working on building one of these devices, and we will hopefully demonstrate it soon and have a course on it as well. But yeah, it's basically what this is. We need something to send and receive radio waves. That's what we need. Right? And that's what these low-cost SDRs are. Okay, the cheapest ones can't send a signal, but they can receive a signal. And so in some cases, if you're using the Wi-Fi that's already in the room, then that's adequate, right? Because the Wi-Fi is sending out the radio signal. You're just receiving the radio signal. But it's also possible to send the Wi-Fi out, not using it for any purpose other than trying to see what's inside the room. Just send a powerful signal through the wall, okay? It strikes the objects in the room and then reflects back to an AI that can read that data and reconstruct figures in real time, right? So that's what is necessary to do it. And you need a NVIDIA card and you need a piece of software, right? It's called DensePose. I'll put it up on the screen for you, okay? This is DensePose, right? It was it's basically an AI system, right, that takes signals and converts them into body forms, right? And so this is it's all open source. And so this is the software end of it. The hardware end is there's two elements. You got to have a computer, obviously. Then you have to have an SDR, right, to be able to send and receive signals. And then you need this software, right? And once you have that, then it's possible to build a device that can see through walls. Now, there's some limitations of a device like this, and one of the limitations is that Wi-Fi, as it's specified throughout the industrialized world, is limited to between a half a watt to 1 watt, right? And so that's why we have limited ranges of Wi-Fi that are only like 100 meters, right? So Wi-Fi in the US is limited to a half a watt by the FCC. But that doesn't mean that somebody couldn't build a Wi-Fi device that even put out more power, had a directional antenna. So it's putting out the Wi-Fi at a higher power in one direction. Its ability to see through walls will be enhanced, right? It can see further than the 100 meters. There's a lot of things that we need to consider in this, right? And that this can be used for malicious and nefarious purposes. And it's certainly, it has all of the makings of a 2025 spy device.
Spy device.
It definitely looks like a spy device to me. But I should tell you that there's a commercial company out there that makes home security systems based upon this. And so what they've done is that they've built a home security system based on this, and then they can determine if there's a motion within the room that shouldn't be there, right? It takes like a fingerprint of all of the people and devices in the room. And so if a new person comes in, it can tell that there's a new person in the room. If a dog comes into the room, it knows it's a dog. If a picture falls off the wall, it's not an emergency. It's to be that intelligent, right? And so this is the first commercial application I've seen of it, is a security system. So the original researchers were saying, well, this is going to be a privacy device. I can't buy that at all. It's not a privacy device.
No.
It's an anti-privacy device. But there are some commercial applications that aren't spy devices, like home security systems, right? That'd be one application. Another application would be using it to monitor old people, right? So using Wi-Fi, you could create a picture of their face, okay, and their breathing, and then say, okay, this person's doing okay because the breathing is deep and it's at a certain rate per minute. And if it varies from that, then we have an emergency and we need to take care of it. So these are ways that it can be used in commercial applications. And of course, we're talking about Wi-Fi here, right? So Wi-Fi is that everywhere, but it could be used others, not just Wi-Fi. This technology is not limited by Wi-Fi, right? Wi-Fi is just the most convenient, and it's in every home. Well, I should put it, it's in nearly every industrialized home, industrialized country's homes. So it can be used for that purpose. The attacker doesn't have to bring in their own signal. The signal is being generated inside your home, and all they're doing is reading the signal. And that gives them access to everything that's going on inside of that room.
Yeah.
Now, it could be much more nefarious and use different signals, a higher frequency signal. A higher frequency is going to get you much greater resolution. So the images that you'll see that have been generated with this technology, they're nice human figures. You can tell that they're human, but you can't really tell facial features and what have you. With higher frequency signals, you would get really good resolution. So that, once again, this could be used as a spy weapon that can see through walls. Maybe law enforcement uses it to be able to see who's inside the house before they break in or what have you. So it's kind of like an X-ray, okay? But it has much more a resolution that an X-ray does, and it's more like an MRI might be the best way to think of it. It's more like an MRI of a room. They're taking an MRI of a room and basically seeing how the radio are refracted or reflected. That's what an MRI does too, by the way, but it's the same electromagnetic technology, but much more powerful, much more sensitive. What we're talking about is off-the-shelf parts, a regular computer, an NVIDIA graphics card, and some open source software. Yeah. You have yourself a spy device.
Yeah. So OTW, if I'm thinking how it works. So we know that Wi-Fi signals don't stop at walls. They penetrate, they reflect, bounce off objects, including human. So say when a human moves in a room, their body disrupts the Wi-Fi signal, and in a predictable way, let's say, and with the right tools, like you say, an SDR, of course, a computer, NVIDIA card, you can capture those distortions and reconstruct, 2D, 3D,
yep,
right?
3D
presentation of the 3D.
Yes, 3D.
Okay.
Yep. This is 3D software, and it does require the NVIDIA card because the NVIDIA card has built into it CUDA. And let's maybe back up a little bit. People know NVIDIA, right? They think now of the AI company, right? They make the CPUs, the GPUs that are used for AI, but they've been around for a long time. For let's see, 22 years, I believe. 22 years they've been around, and during those 22 years, they basically have been making GPUs, graphics processing units, right? That are a little bit different than CPUs. They're basically simpler devices that basically do calculations, and they move polygons very, very rapidly, right? And they've made a business out of that for years and years and years. They've done very well for themselves, but the reason they've done so well for themselves is because they developed essentially an operating system called CUDA, right? And a lot of the AI applications run on CUDA. This is an example here, okay? This one we're talking about. There's another one that DensePose developed on NVIDIA because of CUDA, right? And this is why NVIDIA is the leader in making. I guess they're almost a $4 trillion company. They're bigger than a lot of countries, and the reason is because they made these GPUs with CUDA, and this application requires that. Right? This is why they're doing so well. Of course, the higher end applications require entire server farms full of GPUs and enough power to power an entire city. That's why we're starting to see nuclear power plants come back online in the United States, the ones that have been retired. And we're going to see this in other places too, because one of the things that I don't know that the general public is thinking about, but the AI revolution is going to suck up a huge amount of energy, right? A huge amount of energy. And so we have to see what impact that's going to have on nations and energy security. I mean, it might be that the AI uses, all the energy and leaves us with none. Microsoft a few months back bought themselves a nuclear power plant. That's how much energy is being used. They bought themselves a nuclear power plant. But I'm not one to denigrate AI. I've been waiting for AI all my life. Literally all my life. Like, when's AI gonna come? When's AI gonna come? And it's here. And I think that we all need to embrace that it's here. And I think as far as cybersecurity jobs, which is a question I get all the time, the answer is learn to integrate AI into your work. Okay, learn to integrate AI into what you do every day. And if you do that, you're not going to be out of work. You're going to have a job. You're going to have lots of jobs. You're going to have high-paying jobs.
Right.
The person who doesn't do that is maybe unemployed. Right? They may be unemployed if they can't integrate AI into everything that they do. Here's just an excellent. I just love this device, this technology, because it combines two of my favorite subjects, which is radio hacking with AI. And so what could get better than that, right? AI and radio hacking. So let's look for this from us. I wrote a little article on Hackers Rise a week ago or so and tried to explain what's involved, and we'll be pursuing this in the very near future.
So OTW, I have a question from defense point of view, because now, as you said, this is a spy device, right? Everyone can do it. So exactly. What are the countermeasures that people or organization can do to block such attempts? Is jamming is one of the tactics, or it will not help in this?
Well, let's talk about simple measures first. If you were trying to have your own Wi-Fi signal not used, you could turn it down. You could turn down the power on your Wi-Fi. That's not convenient, though. Nobody likes that because then I can't reach it in different parts of the office or the home or the school or wherever you're at. But that's an obvious possible solution. Of course, you could also use Ethernet. Just skip the Wi-Fi, right?
Right.
And so far, this technology has only been refined. It's possible with any radio signal, but you could also use Bluetooth instead of Wi-Fi. I mean, Bluetooth is quite as fast, but it'll do. Right. So, like for instance, you could the way you tether your phone by Bluetooth, right? You can do that. You can send the signals and data that way. And then you could also try to block the signal, right? And that would be to put some dense objects between the outer wall and you, whatever that happened to be. I mean, if it's a 10-inch concrete wall, there's probably not going to be any signals emanating through it, right? But we can't all do those things, right? For a lot of people, just those are not practical ways. I mean, you could always enclose your entire house in lead. That's, as you know, a lot of the highly confidential facilities in the military and they have lead line walls all the way around, right? Because why do they do that? Because that doesn't allow any signals to emanate out through that. You can't get a cell phone signal out. You can't get Wi-Fi out. Once again, if you were in a state-sponsored type of circumstance, that's what you would do. You would go ahead and build yourself a facility where there was very dense material, with lead being the densest, right? There's a build with lead line walls so that the signal can't leave. But that's for state-sponsored. That's not for you and I. The best thing that we might be able to do is turn our signal down or put large objects there. The other thing you mentioned is basically jamming. And jamming is a possibility. It's not easy. It's something that we do in our advanced SDR class. Is we work at jamming different signals. And one of the problems with jamming Wi-Fi and in Bluetooth is that they use a spectrum skipping technology. So they go and they skip through various frequencies. So they send the message on one frequency, that's the beginning of the message, and then the second part of the message goes into a second frequency, and then the third part of the message goes to a third frequency. So you have to know what the algorithm is that's determining what frequency the message is on, okay? And that's what's called spread spectrum technology. And that is a good strategy, but if I can figure out the algorithm, okay, if I can figure out the algorithm they're using, then I can break that type of encryption. The issue with, say, Bluetooth Low Energy is it's pretty easy to break it, right? And we can break it. Wi-Fi is a little bit more difficult because there is an element of randomness, okay, in the algorithm. And so predicting that randomness becomes very difficult. By definition, predicting randomness is difficult. You can't predict randomness.
So OTW, you mentioned that you are working on such a device. While you were talking, presented here on the screen the article you wrote in Hackers Arise, and we'll put it now again. Plus, we did multiple videos on SDR hacking, which are now on the screen as well. But are you going to build a course around it?
Yes, we're going to build a course around this. We have a Wi-Fi hacking course coming up in a couple of weeks, probably by the time this video is showing. And we're going to include elements of this in that course. We won't actually build the device, but we will teach how it works and how to build it. Not actually, because we have too many areas to cover in the Wi-Fi hacking course. And we're also going to be covering the nearest neighbor attack. That's the attack that the Russians use to attack inside of the United States, where they went and compromised a system in Washington, D.C., and then used the system's Wi-Fi to attack the neighbor, right? They attacked the neighbor that way to get some information from the U.S. government. So we'll be working on that, as well as, WPA3 and WPA2 and all the different types of web attack, the old web. So we got a lot of material we're trying to cover in terms of, evil twin attacks and rogue access attacks, so rogue APs. So we're going to introduce that class and show people a bit about it, but then we will build a separate class that's just on this subject as part of our SDR signal intelligence program, where we are. Next year we also have 2 courses on mobile hacking with SDR. So next year is going to be a big year in new devices that we'll be putting through. And you and I did a video on how the Mexican cartels built their own private cell system. Well, we'll be doing that next year as well. So we'll be showing you, and we're building in class a private cell system. Right. So look for that. That's probably about mid 2026. Somewhere around there, late spring, summer of 2026, we'll squeeze it in there. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on in that field at Hackers Survive. This is one of them. This is one of those things that's definitely a signals intelligence application, and I'm pretty excited about it. I think it has a lot of applications, some good and some bad, but you will know how they work and you will know how to build them.
I agree, and this is cool, and I see how the community is growing around SDR. I see much more people are really interested in that, asking a lot of questions. So it's a great opportunity for everyone. Hacker Arise are, spending their courses and knowledge to everyone. It shows how the technology moved forward so much, and it raises also many questions, like privacy, like privacy spyware or surveillance, I will say, and definitely very insightful.
This came out a couple of years ago, and so it's been out there, but I don't think people have really clicked on it like, oh, this could change so many things. This is like a game-changing technology for spies, right? For whoever's going to use it, it's going to be game-changing. So, and I'd be interested to see how what distance we could extend it to with more higher frequency signals, so that most of the SDRs have a limit of about 6 gigahertz, right around there. So that's about as much as we'd be able to press it up and see what we can do at that level versus 2.5 gigahertz.
With that said, OTW, thank you so much. Very insightful, very eye-opening, definitely much to learn here. And if you love such content, please leave your comment in the descriptions. There are many more videos OTW and I are planning. So stay tuned, keep asking me when is the next video, when OTW is coming to the show. And OTW, as always, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Yaniv. I really enjoyed being on your show.